adventurers! 'Tis I, Nathaniel Gomezian, shopkeeper and proprietor of Gaming Treasure Chest, and in today's video, we're going to be going through codes and different ways of hiding secret messages from your players that they can work out and find out and have good times with. So, let's get into it. So yes, in today's video we're going to be going through how to do different codes and secret messages that you can hand to your players that they might need a little bit more brain power to be able to work out, and it can be clues that can help them along the way and whatever's going on in the adventure. And as I said, these are different codes that you can use in different ways depending on whatever's going on in your campaign to be able to throw in there. And it's just a fun little thing that allows the players to feel a bit smart as they work them out, and it's always fun to throw puzzles. So this is a kind of puzzle codes and such, so let's get into the first one. So the first one is actually probably one of the most simple and well-known codes, which is called the Caesar Cipher. Now, I know what you're thinking, Gomez, didn't Caesar only care about salads? And yes, he did care about salads, but he also cared about sending secret messages between his generals, because obviously he did a wide empire of things like Caesar, and he wanted to control what was going on with his armies, but he didn't want messages to be intercepted, so he used what's called the Caesar Cipher. And in basic layman's terms, the Caesar Cipher is substituting one letter for another, and then that being a continuous sequence. So say that you had the letter A as being G. Well, then it means that B would then be H, and C would then be I, and so on and so forth. So it's a basic way of just scrambling up the letters within words, which then make it hard to read for somebody who doesn't know, oh, that letter equals that letter. Now let's quickly see this in effect in an example. So here we have our encoded text that we have here. There's also this thing in the top corner, but what the hell could that mean? Well, that is our code which is going on here, because we have our decoder, Caesar Cipher decoder, which allows you to spin the letters around, and basically we want to get, so it's VO22, because there is also numbers in this one. Not all Caesar ciphers have this. You could just be like a V equals O. But anyway, once you do that, you can see here with the position in the right way, A equals H, because the A on the inside is hitting H on the outside. And then if we go through, we can also see that X is E. So X is with E, so then that must be an E. There's two E's now within this message, and if we go through and find out what E corresponds to, we can see that it corresponds to L, so that is two L's. And then finally we have H, which if we go back through the decoder, we can see that H equals O. And that therefore leaves the message as being hello, as being a little decoded message here, but obviously this is just an example. You can do this for any way that you want. Now, another thing that you can do, because this has numbers in it, as you can see here, and as I said, this little V thing in the corner is just to correspond with the decoder itself. You don't have to do that V thing. As I said, you can just do V equals O, or O equals 22, and then with this decoder, you can actually make it into numbers as well. So when we put O as being 22, we can go back through and using the inner circle, we can correspond to different numbers. So we can actually hide the word hello within numbers as well, so you can use numbers as well as using letters. So in that example, I was using one of these, which hopefully the camera will zoom in, you'll be able to see what's going on there, which is a decoder, which is like a Caesar Cipher decoder, which I designed and 3D printed. You can actually get this design if you want to. It'll be in the links down below from my Etsy shop, either the actual file to be able to 3D print it yourself, or if you want me to print one for you and send one to you, then by all means I can do that too. But you don't have to use something fancy like this. This is just what I did just because I think it's more fun to hand something like a physical object from your world. As I said, you don't have to do that. There are many free ones that you can get online, in terms of the fact that you can print them off yourself and then put them together in one of those little, I can't remember what the hell the clip thing is that you put through the middle, which allows you then to spin the pieces of paper. So you can do that, or card if you want to use card. So I have also linked down below a free copy that you can use, that you can print off to make your own out of paper or card. But the link is also down below if you wanted to get a 3D printed version as well. But as I said, you don't have to, the decisions are yours. With this one, it actually does letters and numbers, which means that you can do the code through letters and numbers, which you saw in the example as well. But as I said, you can do that without that as well, so that you can create the same kind of thing on paper. So it's just one way of giving your players something that they can interact with, and it can be something that they maybe find along the way, like, you know, they find all these notes but they've got no way of decoding them, and then let's say they take out a criminal boss or they take out a cult member, and while searching through them they find this, or just even in one of the desks as they're searching through, like, you know, the criminal's hideout or the evil person's lair and such, and so they can use that then on notes that they might have found previously or in the room in front of them. As you can see in the example that I did before, I kind of had a clue that was in the corner that was like a kind of like the V with like the letter and number. You don't have to do that, obviously. Like, you can just do like this letter equals this one, or you can do, as I said, if you want to make it really easy that they don't need something like this, they can work it out on their own. Or if you do want to have a decoder and want to do something like that, then you can do as well, just to make it so that it looks like it's just weird and unique, which then requires something which is like when they find this item, it kind of, hopefully the pieces will fall together, like, that equates to that, and then they can go through and crack the code and read whatever messages that you've got hidden for them. Now, while the Caesar Cipher is a fun way of being able to hide things from your players as well as being quite a simple one, if you wanted to step it up a notch and give it as a more complicated puzzle for your players, then why not use the Polyalphabetic Cipher, which was one that was devised after they found out that the Caesar Cipher was so easy to decode, and it's something that they basically had to make the Enigma machine thing for. But anyway, also they used the Polyalphabetic Cipher in the film The Prestige, in terms of it's the way that Christian Bale or Hugh Jackman hide their codes of how they do their magic tricks. But anyway, that's not important, that's just a little side note. So the way that the Polyalphabetic Cipher works is that there is a code word, which then is how everything is encrypted within the message, which makes it more complicated to figure out than just the normal Caesar Cipher. So let's go for an example so you can understand what the hell I'm talking about. So this cipher depends on a code word. So for this one, we're just going to have the code word as being dog, just because it's a nice simple one. And we're going to be hiding the previous message that we had before, which was hello, obviously. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going through each one of the letters. So with this, D is the first letter, so we're going to move A into the D portion. And when we move A into the D portion, when we move around, we can see that H is actually equaling E. And so for the next letter, we're going to move the A into the O position, and when you move A into the O position, then we find out that the letter E, which is the one that we're trying to hide, shows up as being Q. So therefore the next letter in this is Q. Now, whereas in the other examples, like with the numbers and the letters, both the L's were the same, with this one now when we put the A to the G, it gives us the letter for L as being F, which we put down here. But as I said, these letters are not actually going to be the same anymore because, or like a number's not going to be the same anymore because now we're going back to D. So we're putting A back to D, and that makes L be I. So this is just a more like a way of hiding messages, which is more complicated. Which, as I said, it depends on what your players are like. So now we go back to A equaling O, and obviously A equaling O, the actual letter that we're trying to hide is O, so it is an A being there. So there you have it. That is us using the Polyalphabetic Cipher. So I hope that all makes sense to you. If it doesn't, please leave a comment down below. But those are the basics behind the Caesar Cipher and the Polyalphabetic Cipher. There are other ciphers and different things like that you can use, and I'll most likely be covering those in a different video because I do want to make a few videos about this because there are so many different ways that you can make codes, hide messages and whatnot, but as I said, just covering those two for today. So let's get into the next way that you can hide messages from your players. So another way that you can hide messages from your players is with the different inks that you decide to use to be able to make these messages. What the hell do I mean by this? Well, now there are pens known as Frixion Pens. So as you can see here, as it starts to focus, the Frixion Pens, which will be with the X in the middle. The way that these pens is actually through phomochromic ink. I probably said that terribly wrong, but the basics of it is that these inks work through temperature control. So when you write with them, if you use the rubber at the end, it's the friction, the heat which is created, which actually gets rid of them. So you can use that to be able to make hidden messages. What's also fun about these pens is that the ink actually not only goes away with heat, but actually comes back if you put them in really cold temperatures. So if your players were to put a message that had that you couldn't see anything on it, a piece of paper or whatever, into the freezer, then when they come back to it, they'll be able to read the message. I know that some people think that's stupid and putting things like that, especially considering the fact that it can take quite a long time in the freezer, but for banter it is always fun to go with the cold route as well as the hot route. But the hot route is a very fast way of being able to use these pens to be able to make secret messages, as I'll show you in this demo.
So what we have here is a hidden phrase on a piece of paper, as you can see, and what happens when we apply heat to this. So throwing this through here, you don't have to do it with just the light like this. You can put it over like a candle or something. This was just a more crazy way of doing it, but as you can see, as you put heat on top of it, it reveals the message underneath, by removing the foamocramic ink. And oh no, I wonder how that got there. The why not subscribe? But I mean, if you enjoyed this content, why not consider it? But yes, the way that you hide these letters is by using firstly a normal pen, so just a normal standard ink pen, and writing down your message. So yeah, again, we're just going to take an old one of the hello, and then if you use the Frixion Pens and put over the top of it whatever kind of weird design that you want to put on there, which is just to hide the message underneath. And as I said, then when you apply heat, then this will reveal the message as being hello. You can also, as I said, with these pens, write the message in the Frixion Pens and then rub them out. And then if your players put them in the freezer, then it will reveal them. But that's only if you want to go down that route. It is a much more complicated version than using the heat, because it does take several hours in the freezer to actually start revealing the words again. But it's an option to be able to play with temperature and have a little bit of fun with your players if they want to do that. But as I say, it depends on if they just want it there and then, or just a little something which they can take home with them maybe and push the puzzle through into their normal lives.
Now, of course, another type of ink that you can use is invisible ink, which shows up under UV light. So these pens here actually are invisible ink pens which have the UV light connected to them, and then that will reveal the message, and it makes it look like there's nothing on the paper until you shine the particular light on it. Now, I do actually want to make a design that's a 3D printable one, which is a fun way of using this, whereby it's something which is a puzzle which then unlocks the fact that you can use the light, which then they can put over things to be able to read messages. But I'm working on that. I will hopefully get back to that at another point. But you don't have to do anything as complicated as that. You can just have it that they find something which produces that light, and then you give them the light, that bit like a UV light, to be able to show them, as you will see in this quick little demonstration.
And of course, invisible ink, which makes the paper look normal to begin with, but you can see when you put the right light on it, it reveals the message of please hit that bell. Yet again, oh, how did that get there? But if you want this content and want to be reminded of it, then why not do that? But do not feel forced.
So those are just the two different ink types that I've got for you today. You can actually find both of these different types of pens. I will link down below as Amazon links. They will be Amazon affiliate links. It won't cost you anything extra, but I will make a commission if you decide to buy them. So if you want to support the channel, please feel free to do that. But as I said, do not feel forced. These options are yours, and so you can get hold of these pens. They're very cheap on places like Amazon. You can probably even go to eBay and places like that. But yes, really fun ways to be able to hide messages from your players using pens like this. So the last thing I'm going to show you today is how to hide a message from your players within a sheet of music, because sometimes it can be fun. Let's zoom in there so you can see that a little bit better. Sometimes it can be fun to use something like music or that. As I said, this is just a suggestion, and it can just be a fun way of hiding messages from your players. So let's get into the example about how to hide a message within a sheet of music.
So here we have our sheet of music with both words and notes on it. It reads the following: under the moon's soft glow, with a heart that's true I know, I'm grateful for your light, thank you for staying through the night. In the dawn's gentle gleam, you make life a sweet dream. For your love I sing, watching over everything. Now, as we continue to go through this note, we can see that at the bottom corner there's a little something interesting there, which is some weird notes which are depicted in the bottom corner. So the way that this code works is that we look at those notes, so we find this note and it corresponds over here, and the word underneath it is thank. And then if we go back down here, the next note that we see depicted is this one, which when we go back to the text, or go back to the sheet music, we can see that that note corresponds to U. And then the next note, which is kind of like 2 dots with a little like everything going up and 2 tails, leads over to this one. It's a little bit hard to see in this, but I said, like, you know, it's easier to see on the thing, but it's 4. And then this final note is over here and is watching, which means the message is thank you for watching. Yes, I know, glorious. I thought so when I wrote it. This is just a fun way of using a sheet of music to be able to hide whatever message you want. You don't have to do it as being separate notes. It can just be one singular note, like depicted somewhere, and if you follow that singular note all the way through, it will lead you to a message. Or you can just do it as I've done here, with each one being a separate different note. I'm somebody who knows nothing about music and so made up all of these notes. You just want to make notes which look slightly different, and yeah, that's how this puzzle works.
So those are just some examples for you of different ways that you can hide codes and messages from your players for them to be able to work out and find the secret codes that you're trying to put out there. As I said, it can be clues along the way that will help them in their adventure. I said something like a mob boss or a cult that are sending secret messages to each other, and your players get hold of some of those things and then trying to find out how to get through the messages so that they can reveal secrets like, we're meeting behind the water tank at midnight or something. I don't know, like we're meeting in this town, whatever. Secret little things that then lead your players onward to certain codes. I said, like, you can either have it so they find the decoder along the way, they find different ways of being able to do it, or they can just torture somebody who's a member of it to find out how to read the messages. That is also a way that your characters can go. I say torture, persuade. Let's go with that. We don't condone violence here. What's also fun about giving codes out and things like this is that you can give these out far in advance, and not until they get all the pieces together do they understand how to actually read these things, and so then they go back through what you've already given them and go, oh crap, what was all that? And then they can find out so many more different secrets and whatnot. Sometimes it might be revealing something which is already passed, and that they were like, oh, that would have been great to know that or something. But I don't know, it's just fun little things to be able to do, especially like with the invisible ink. It's something that you can give to somebody, and then like it's only when they find a way of being able to read it, they're like, oh, and then they can just like reveal so much of the world that you've given to them, as well as I said, the friction ones, if they find out to heat the message. It's a fun little way, as well as like the decoder, everything. There's always fun things that you can do. But as always, these are just suggestions of things that you can do. There are many other ways to hide things, and hopefully I will be making more videos on this subject, just because it's the kind of thing that interests me, in all honesty. Sad man that I am. So if you enjoyed this video, then why not hit that subscribe button if you want to see more things like it. Comment down below and let me know what you think about these puzzles. Are there any that you've already used yourself, or do you plan on using any? I would love to hear it down below. Hit that like button and all the YouTube things if you want to help out the channel as well. But as I said, do not feel forced. These options are yours, as well as if you want to check out the Etsy shop of Gaming Treasure Chest. The link will be down below. There's loads of different things in there which I've designed and created, that if you guys wanted to buy it, it'd be amazing to be able to supply you with these things. But anyway, I hope that you have a good time, and until next time, goodbye!